thank you so much for doing this. We really, really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course.
Thank you. Just double checking. Are we recording there too?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. The intros are always
magical.
so fluid.
It's all good. It makes it more real, you know?
Yeah, we just roll it, and that's kind of how we start. So basically, we're going to talk about your journey to stardom. Do you want to tell us a little bit about growing up in Rock Island, Illinois?
Yeah. I grew up in Rock Island, Illinois, which is a town on the Mississippi River across from Iowa. I lived there till I was like through high school. Always loved to sing. Started playing guitar and writing songs like in high school. After high school, I went and did a few years of college in Colorado. Moved to LA when I was 21. And then really, once I got here, just started like hitting the pavement and playing lots and lots of shows, and eventually got signed and got dropped. Then I got signed again and made a couple albums. I got dropped. And then I actually ended up, I was up in Ojai, California for about 7 of the last, of the 12 years I spent in California from 2004 till 2015-ish. I lived 5 in Hollywood, 7 in Ojai, which is just a couple hours north of here.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2015, I actually moved back to Northeast Iowa and bought like a 50-acre farm.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's like it
awesome.
in a nutshell. And I put out 4 full-length studio albums, 2 with Columbia Records in the UK, 2 independently with other labels and stuff. So
Very
that's
cool.
like the synopsis. Or
Yeah.
summary.
So how did you start getting into music then?
Ever since I was really young, I was always singing. And my grandfather actually, like on my dad's side, was a barbershop quartet, like international champion. And he had been a choir teacher. Everyone in my family sang well, like to some extent. My siblings, my brothers could kind of play the piano by ear. My grandmother, sang in church, and so everyone was like kind of musical, and so I kind of think that's a little bit genetic, like having pitch or something.
Sure.
But I was the one that like really took to it. I was youngest of 4. I think maybe making up songs and singing was a way for me to be heard and get attention, and having like a big loud singing voice, and running off into like the park behind my house and making up songs and stuff. And so my mom saw that I loved that. She put me in singing and dancing classes and acting classes, like in a local theater troupe for kids thing when I was about 5 or 6, and just stuck with it. Did musical theater, was Annie when I was 10 in the local production of Annie.
Yeah.
And and then got to high school, started playing the guitar and writing songs. And
were you playing with people at that point, or were you just kind of writing it on your own?
No, not really. I kind of feel like, because you guys are from San Diego, and it's like I feel like that would be a place where there's like a lot of people in bands when you're in high school.
Yeah.
There weren't really any outlets like that for me. I mean, I knew some boys who played kind of like heavy metal music, but like I wasn't necessarily like in that friend group. I wasn't really ever in choir, because my freshman year of high school, my choir teacher was just like really awful to me and was like trying to fail me because I had to miss some contest, and I was like, really, because I'd gotten like a role in a play in town. It was just so much drama with her. Yeah. So I ended up not being in choir. I never if I auditioned for any of the musicals, I didn't get parts.
Wow.
It was real weird.
Did you ever send her your album and be like,
Yeah,
hey, remember when I got signed
totally.
at Columbia?
Such a whole long story with that, actually, because it turned into this whole thing. But by the time my senior year happened, I got kicked out of high school, and she was sort of part of this whole story of
gosh,
thinking I was singing and I wasn't, and and I'm not even going to go into it. And then a few years after kind of I started having a career, I actually heard that she had passed away, and I felt really bad because I kind of had held on to thinking this person was awful for a while. And when someone passes away, you feel like you shouldn't speak ill of the dead.
Yeah.
So I heard she died. I don't know why, but yeah. Anyway, sorry. That was on that sad note.
Sounds like a lot of stress maybe drove her to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where it is. My water's over here. Oh well. But yeah. So
did it roll away?
Do you want me to go grab
here
one?
it is. No, I got it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I didn't really have other people that I was playing music with once I decided I wanted to write songs and play guitar. So I think in hindsight was good for me, that adversity, because I probably wouldn't have learned the guitar if I had somebody who could do that for me.
Sure.
It was like a necessity. Like if I want to perform my songs and sing, like I have to be able to accompany myself.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm not like a great guitar player, but I play well enough.
You're good.
To,
Really good.
I mean, I can't shred a solo or anything, but I can play, well enough to deliver my words and my
Sure.
melodies and stuff.
What about your brothers and sisters? Did you have like a family band since they could play piano?
No, it would be fun if we did. Actually, my oldest brother did something through his like kids' school years ago where like they did like a battle of the dad bands thing, and I was
that's
visiting,
awesome.
so I jumped up and sang a song with them and
Very
stuff.
cool.
So he's like, he can play the piano. It's just funny. They wasn't their passion. And my sister's like a beautiful singer, and she's writes wonderfully. She's super creative. It's just like we all kind of pursued different things, and this ever since I was young was like the thing. I was like, yes, I want to sing, and I want to get up, and I want to share, and I want to go for this, and was really like determined. And I think it was more of a hobby for everybody else.
Yeah. And were there places to play where you grew up? Like, were there like clubs and stuff?
Not really. I mean, maybe there were and I didn't know, but like in high school, not really. There were like FOE, kind of like Elks Lodge, Moose Lodge
Sure, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
places. I feel the FOE was like the fraternal order of something. I remember
Yeah.
there being a place called FOE in the Moline, Illinois, which is the town next to mine, where maybe some bands played when I was in high school. But for me, I worked at a coffee shop called Theo's Java Club, and they had open mics on like Thursdays. So
Yeah.
those were probably really the first time I'd gotten up and like with my guitar and played
Okay.
some songs and some covers and stuff. And
Yeah, you have some incredible covers.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the cover of Danzig's Mother, like I was blown away when I heard that the first time.
oh yeah, thank you.
Are you into that style of music? Like, how did you decide on doing that song?
I am, like, to an extent. I mean, I don't want to be a poser and be like, oh, I know this, that, and the other. I mean, I
Sure.
was really into Metallica's Black Album when I was in junior high.
Okay.
And then continued to, like, love Metallica. But if someone who was like, what was their third album called? I don't know.
Totally.
I knew who Danzig was. I knew the song Mother.
Yeah.
I could get down with like that style of music, but more like in passing. Like I was, and in high school, like I did go see some of the bands who were playing kind of heavier music, and I thought that was a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I did. But with Danzig, it was sort of this more like a thing. Somebody like suggested it, and I
Wow.
was just like, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's so
we
good.
did Judas Priest's Electric Eye as well.
Oh, wow.
Because it really is like very topical for like the kind of like, surveillance world we live in now.
Sure.
So, I've done like some heavier covers.
Yeah. Because your range on the covers is incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
your cover
Thank you.
of Dreams sounds so I would be shocked if it wasn't Stevie Nicks like on the track. Like when I heard it the first time, I was like, "Why? Are you, whoa!"
Yeah. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because it wasn't ever intended. Like, because I used to get compared to her, and I of course have loved Fleetwood Mac, and I don't even think I'm deserving of that comparison. But then it was almost like, oh, is it too on the nose to cover
No.
her?
No.
But I was singing it for like people at different
Yes.
little gatherings, and they're like, oh, I love that. You got to do Dreams.
It's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is so good.
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed covers over the years, and so like, and I have this new piano album called
Yes.
When I'm Alone, the Piano Retrospective, and just in like bringing that up, that it was sort of almost like I could cover my own songs and
That's awesome.
and find find a way to see, like, if you take the production away from this song or that song or this song, it's like, is it still a good song if
Yeah,
it's
like
just the
stripping
melody?
it down
Yeah, and
to just the
stripped
piano.
back. Yeah.
Well, so you started playing in high school, and then how did you get kind of discovered, or like how did you start playing like more shows?
Yeah, well, it's like I'm very long-winded, so how do I give you like a good answer to this? I went off to college for like 2 years, Colorado State.
Okay. And did you play it all when you were there?
I played a ton. So I started by like going to open mics, but then I really started going to see live music like every night, like figured out ways of like made friends with the security guards over time, like was
Sure.
just like at every show, and a lot of times like would just get in for free because I was always hanging out. And so I started getting asked like, well, do you want to like open for these bands that were coming through?
Oh, wow.
And so like I got to open for like Ozone Motley came to
Whoa.
Fort Collins, and I'm like nothing like them. They're amazing. I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan. And they like let me play like a little 20-minute acoustic set before they played, because a lot of these bands, if they didn't come with like an opener,
Yeah.
the venue would just find a local person. So I would get like $50 or something, and I
Whoa.
I opened for G Love and Special Sauce.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so I got to and I ended up meeting G Love and Special Sauce like when I was in high school, and like sort of staying in touch with them and sending them cassette tapes of my music,
Yeah.
and ended up meeting Garrett. And then so it's like they came to Fort Collins and I got to open for them, and this band called Humphreys McGee, who Chicago based band, like they're not a jam band, but they sort of can exist in that world. Like I got up and sang with them, so I was just like at all the venues in Fort Collins, like
Yeah.
every night, like kind of not going to class. And so through that and feeling like, you know, I was starting to sort of make my way and get better at performing and writing more songs. And then a DJ kind of discovered me. And I did a song with him that we wrote and I sang on. And then that was like on TV shows. Like suddenly
Wow.
I had done this one song is like, you know, 19, 20-year-old in college that then was like in a movie and on a TV show and like in a commercial.
That must
and I
have
got
been-
some money for it.
Yeah.
And I did a semester abroad and then was playing in Paris and stuff, like just anywhere I could. You know, I was just so brave then. I'm amazed. I'm not that bold and brave. Like I just be like, let me play a song for you. You know, I didn't even care. I was just like so driven. And then dropped out of college after Paris, didn't go back to Colorado. I did to work, but didn't go back to college. Then moved to Los Angeles, went to MI for a little bit, music school on Hollywood and Highland.
Okay, yeah.
Ended up kind of convincing this person to give me a gig, played at Genghis Cohen on Fairfax and Melrose, which is a real great listening room. And a woman discovered me there and
Wow.
took me to the man that she was working with, who was doing all this production for so and so, and I got a production deal, and then I got a record deal with Maverick, which is part of Warner.
Wow.
And then I met my manager, and then I got dropped from Maverick, and then my manager took me to London, and I got a deal with Columbia.
Wow.
And that was sort of like really when it started. I made an album when I was on Columbia in like 2009, and it came out in 2010. And that was sort of the beginning of me touring around Europe, and
Yeah.
had this Sony Columbia major label behind me. And I was in Norway all the time, and Germany and the UK.
Was it different playing there than the Los Angeles clubs?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I guess I skipped the whole thing of like I was in LA for 5 years, and I was doing, you know, I had a music scene. I had a group of friends. I was doing Hotel Cafe. I was playing this place called Cranes that is no longer there. Like every Wednesday we did this Beachwood Rockers thing, which like we all lived in Beachwood, and so we just kind of called ourselves the Beachwood Rockers.
That's
and it's like
cool.
anybody
Yeah.
that wanted to play could play. It was free, didn't pay anything. It was super non-pretentious. Everyone was like so fun, and it was like a family. We did that for years every Wednesday. Played all around like by myself with a band of friends. But then like and then I made my album in 2009, and I had gone through like a breakup that was just really sad and just hurt so much that I
Yeah.
actually was like, I can't live in LA anymore. I'm moving to Ojai.
Oh, wow.
And I did, and it was better for me too, because I like nature and quiet and
Yeah.
ease. Even if I'm bored, I'd rather be bored and things be easy than be in like an exciting place where everything's hard.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Did you, well, then you also got to tour with Lenny Kravitz, right?
yes, I did.
And-
There's so many different chapters.
Well, that from what I read was that did it happen through like MySpace or something?
Kind of. You know, it's funny how that stories kind of get started. It was like my first record deal with Maverick. I was signed by Guy Oseary. And who's a big time manager. He
Yeah.
manages U2 and Madonna.
Sure.
But he was running Maverick at the time and had signed me. And then, was kind of for a while there, like trying to sort of get me in front of the right people and sort of help me find my sound. And ultimately Maverick kind of closed and was absorbed by Warner. But in the process of all of that, like Guy Oseary had said, like, oh, Lenny Kravitz is going on this tour. Hey, like, Lenny, you should let this girl open for you. Showed him my, acoustic stuff, like on MySpace, on the internet. Those are like early internet music days, 2008, 2007, 2008. And then Lenny was like, yeah, cool. Let's do it. Bring her out. So I traveled up all by myself. Like, this is before I ever had a tour manager. I sold my own merch. I had my management and stuff then, but it wasn't like, it was my first time really going on like a proper tour, and it was huge. He was playing like kind of smaller theaters. It was like a smaller theater tour, really intimate. So it was like kind of a cool thing because it was like big sounding rock show, like in these kind of more intimate theaters with like diehard fans, and really people were super nice to me, and I was so lucky to be there. And but I didn't have an album out yet then, so it was like that was happened, and it was like so cool. But then it also, like, I came home and I still was like hadn't made an album yet, so it was like promoting myself, but I didn't really have a whole lot for people to find about me.
You're playing, but you didn't have a record out.
Yeah, I made like a little EP that was like 4 songs. That was very kind of a simple thing that I did. But yeah, so I mean, it's sort of crazy thinking about all those chapters that seem a lifetime ago. Because like I did that thing, the Lenny Kravitz tour, that was huge. And then it was like I came back to LA and just got back on my hustle. I hadn't made my debut album yet, which I made in 2009, and then that came out. And in Europe, I was on a major label, so I was getting sent around on tour. They were covering the cost of touring and paying my band for me, and I met my band in 2009, and they were just huge part of everything that I built for like the 5-10 years after that we did together. And well, let's see, because we broke up in 2015 because I moved. So 6 years with my band, and they were really instrumental in my journey, and together we traveled all over the place. And then in the US I was more like indie. So it was a little bit more of like a grassroots thing here, whereas like in the UK I was getting like national radio play and stuff.
Wow. Yeah. And then
and sold out shows even now.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've sort of plateaued. Like I've sort of stayed at like roughly the same level, which is fine by me. I don't know. But yeah, when I first started out, like, playing in London and doing these like 2,000 people sold out, getting, radio play and all these cool festivals I was doing, and lots of like great press and stuff. So
that's really cool. Yeah. So, and then you just released a new record.
Yeah.
Pretty recently, right?
Yeah. So about a month ago, I put out an album called When I'm Alone, the Piano Retrospective. And it's kind of a new album, but not exactly. So it's like I've put out 4 full-length albums of like new material, like produced, and then you go out and you tour it for a couple years, then you make another album. When I'm Alone, the Piano Retrospective is basically a vocal piano renditions of my existing songs. So going into making it, kind of on the back of promoting my last album, Castles, I was doing these stripped down showcase sort of intimate unplugged performances where I was just singing and my friend Joe was playing piano.
Wow.
And I was like, I really like this. It's different. It's like I'm not playing the guitar. My hands are free. I can really get my body into it. It's a little terrifying because I don't have my guitar to like hide behind. But it's it's not band. It's not duo. It's not me with a guitar. It's just this whole other way for me to like access the emotion of my songs that, some old, some new, but like just different ways of expressing these songs, and showing what they're like without their like
production
and guitar hooks
pieces,
and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I really it was as simple as I enjoyed it, and I thought, I'm sure some people would appreciate just hearing my voice sort of free and uninhibited and not competing with anything else. And these beautiful piano arrangements just bring so much emotion to to the song. So I recorded it in Berlin with Martin Kraft and Joe Dutteridge, both playing piano, and Martin produced it. And then it was done, and I was like, hey, I'm going to put this out for the people who want this, and hopefully some people do, and I think people like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
was it hard to choose the songs that you were going to do for that?
it wasn't. It was sort of almost the point was like, When I'm Alone, Don't You Give Up on Me, In Sleep, Best Days. The songs that had been these kind of bigger, more produced songs, those were almost like my goal songs of like, can I take the bouncier kind of songs and kind of
slow it all down,
put them into this totally different context and have them still be meaningful, because it's sort of just peeling another layer of like the emotion of the song, like revealing that for me and potentially for the listener. So it was pretty obvious to me that I wanted to do my bigger songs from the record, which are usually kind of the more kind of
like the
filled out ones.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Oh, when I always have to preface that by saying, like, I don't know if I feel like I should give advice to anyone. I would say, like, and I think in my case, that kind of is if you really want to be an artist because you have to do it, because you have to sing, you have to share, you have to write, you have to express yourself, and that it's not just necessarily about being cool or making money's great, but fame or fashion, like fashion in itself, yes, that's a really cool thing. I love it, but I think that there's like kind of that if you make music because you can't not, then just keep doing it, because and kind of adjust your expectations, because it's not really about the end result as much as I think it's just about being creative, being prolific. I know a lot of people who they've been working on the same album for 5 years, and it's like, just put it out and move on, Like, maybe that's bad advice, but just like, we live in times where I feel like people have such short attention spans anyway. You work on an album for 2 years, you put it out, and people are like, talk about it for like 3 days, and then it's like, okay, now what's next? And you're like, oh God. So I think it just like generate like a lot of stuff maybe, but I could be wrong, because there's people who make masterpieces, and that's that. So I think there's a lot of answers to that question. Just like stick with it, don't give up, adjust your expectations, do it for the right reasons, and hopefully you'll find happiness.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for spending the time with us and telling
you
us
are
all
so
about
welcome.
your journey here. And
I wish that we could talk for like 24 hours. I feel like I could give you more tidbits and stuff.
I don't want to take up too much of your time.
When you're back in town, and we're super excited to see your showcase.
So thanks for being here. And you look lovely, by the way. So I hope you have a fun night out here in La in LA, and then tonight should be fun.
It will. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Bringing it back where